Great, welcome everyone. We're still waiting a few more minutes. All right, hi, good evening everyone. Thanks for joining us today as we light a candle for Brighter 2021 and call on Congress to deliver a federal stimulus bill that includes $32 billion needed to save transit. I'm Rachel Albetski. I'm the co-chair of the North Brooklyn Activist Committee with Transportation Alternatives, and we're here today to light a candle and have some hope for the future. And I'll pass it over to Jack now.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank everybody for coming, including our speakers. We really appreciate you all being here. My name is Jack Stiglmeier. I'm a Hunter College student and activist with the Strap Hangers campaign. 2020 has been a really rough year for so many of us, but we know that at the end of every tunnel, there is a light, and we are hopeful that that light is near. Tonight's event is co-hosted by the Riders Alliance, the Strap Hangers campaign, and Transportation Alternatives. And just personally, as a CUNY student, I can attest firsthand that public transit is a direct extension of our higher education system. Students do not live on campus and must commute. CUNY students depend on public transportation to travel between home, school, and work. In turn, we contribute directly to the city's economy and culture. In addition to mass unemployment and CUNY budget cuts, we students are now faced with increasing barriers to public transit. A lack of access to transit cannot be another blockage in the civic engagement, education, and career building opportunities for students in New York. So we're here this evening to send one last call before the year ends to Congress to ensure they come through with the $32 billion needed to save transit. Hashtag save transit. As we close out 2020, the fate of our city's public transportation system is still yet to be determined. We are asking Congress to allow New Yorkers and Americans across the country to pass a bill so we can start 2021 on better footing. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to Rachel.
Hi again. So yeah, I'm Rachel. I'm a bike rider. I'm also a transit user. I ride the train when I can't ride my bike, and that's becoming a little bit more frequent now that the weather's colder, so you need to be able to rely on good transit. Just a few things about what 2020 has brought to transit and things that we're hoping Congress will deliver on. If Congress doesn't deliver, we have severe transit cuts on the horizon. We have potentially 9,000 jobs that will be lost, reducing service up to 40%, and as well as increasing fares and eliminating weekly and monthly Metro cards. We need public transportation in New York City. It's what most people in the city rely on. It's a skeleton of our city and our economy, and our people depend on it. Transit cuts mean working class New Yorkers will have to endure some of the longest commutes in the city, having to wait even longer times than normal. There's more time on transit, time away from friends and family, and from loved ones. Transit cuts also mean that poor and working class New Yorkers have even greater difficulty traveling to work, school, or to their medical appointments. Almost 50% of subway and commuter rail users make less than $50,000 a year. Increase of traffic and pollution in our communities if we don't save transit. As we know and we've seen right now during the pandemic, a lot of more people are relying on cars to get around, and the people with the means to drive, it shows that they are driving and they're not seeing public transportation as a viable alternative to them anymore. This will further slow down our buses, increase crashes, and affect the health outcomes of our poor communities. So here to tell us a little bit more about the federal landscape is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. I'll pass it over to Senator Schumer.
He'll be on in just a few minutes. We're waiting for him to finish voting on the Senate floor.
Okay, so he'll be here in a few minutes, if everyone can just be patient.
While we wait, just to prep things for our final ceremony, if everyone wants to grab a candle, or it doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I saw someone holding up like a candle GIF on their iPhone, which was amazing. Make sure you have something to light your candle. You can even use a phone flashlight, but if you need a second to grab that, this is a great opportunity to do so. I love it. I love to see all those candles. I should get mine lit.
Well, don't light it yet. We're lighting them together.
Everybody put out your candles.
Blow out your candles.
Actually, Jack, could we actually have Eric from TWU speak while we wait for the senator?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to introduce Eric Loegel. He is the Vice President representing train operators and conductors from TWU Union Local 100. So we'll pass it over to you, Eric. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Can everybody hear me? Okay, great. So as Jack said, I'm one of the vice presidents for the Transport Workers Union. We represent more than 40,000 New York City transit workers. I represent the train crews in particular. So your train operators, your conductors, and tower operators. I myself am a train operator by title. I've been with New York City Transit for about 7 years. I don't think I need to emphasize how crucial funding is for mass transit. This should be non-negotiable. So many people are dependent upon what we do in New York City, providing subway and bus service. It is absolutely essential. And it is really tragic and disheartening that we are, so far into the year, in December now, and still some members of the United States Senate are playing chicken with something that is so vital. Mass transit needs funding. Without a doubt, it is, as I said, non-negotiable. And if we don't get the funding, the impact is going to be absolutely devastating. It's going to be devastating to the more than 40,000 men and women that we represent in the Transport Workers Union. It is going to be devastating to the economy of New York City. to the region, and to the country as a whole. And this is not something that that we can afford to wait any longer for. You know, as we know, the MTA has drawn up these doomsday scenarios. It has our members and us very, to put it mildly, very concerned. You know, the prospect of significant service cuts, of layoffs, layoffs of heroic frontline employees who risk their necks all year in the midst of a global pandemic to keep the city moving. And as I'm sure everybody well knows by now, we lost well over 100 MTA workers as a result of this pandemic. And it would just be the ultimate slap in the face to our members, to those we lost, if transit is not funded, and if these cuts are allowed to go forward. You know, so the Transport Workers Union and our fellow unions in the transportation sector are fully on board with doing whatever it takes to encourage the United States Senate to do the right thing, to pass a bill that includes funding for mass transit. It's about our jobs, our livelihoods. Our members are working class members of these communities in New York City and the surrounding area. It's about the people of New York, the riders, the economy. There's so much at stake. And I apologize if I'm rambling, but I feel very passionate about this issue. And something's got to get done, and it's got to happen soon.
Thank you so much, Eric, for taking the time to talk to us. And just to kind of piggyback on the impact that these budget cuts can have on you, our essential transit employees. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that you guys have faced during this absolutely unprecedented period of time, and how?
Hello, everybody.
supported...
Hello.
Hi,
Can you
Senator
hear me?
Schumer.
I'm going to have to break in and be quick. Okay, is that all right?
Yes, great. Thanks for joining
Okay,
us.
so I want to thank the Riders Alliance and thank you. As you know, it's Chuck Schumer. We're knee-deep in COVID negotiations, and my number one priority is money for mass transit and state and local. We're fighting real hard. We know that you need $4 billion plus now and getting more later. And I know how important transit is to the economy. My family uses it all the time. Mitch McConnell is in the way. Donald Trump is in the way. And Mitch McConnell thus far is opposing money for MTA. We're eyeballing him, and we're doing everything we can. As you know, I was able to succeed last time when we negotiated with Mnuchin and got the $4 billion for the MTA in the spring, but we obviously need more money now. We were able to get the low interest Federal Reserve Municipal Liquidity Facility. The MTA has used that, and we'll get an extra $2.9 billion this month. But the bottom line is we need direct aid. Pelosi's on our side, the Democrats in the House are on our side, but McConnell has resisted, Trump has resisted. So I need everyone here to put all the pressure they can on Republican senators. And there is money not just for mass transit in this, but for buses, which go to rural areas. So some of the Republicans care about that, but they're refusing right now to engage. They want to try to jam us and just put a few things in without transit, without state and local aid, and we're fighting them tooth and nail. So we are willing to negotiate. The Gang of Eight framework has put money in for transit. Not everything we need, but enough, I believe, at this point to get us to the $4 billion that we need for the next few months. But that doesn't mean McConnell will accept it. And he could say no and leave people with a take it or leave it. Nothing. And if there's money for small business, and if there's money for unemployed and for food and for starving people, who knows what will happen. So we're at the last minute. I believe in mass transit with every bone in my body. I've been able to save it and get money when no one else was fighting for it in the last while. It will also be helpful, some of you union folks, to reach out to your unions in states like Pennsylvania, Illinois, California, states that have large mass transit systems, and get them to tell their senators you can't support a bill without transit in it. So that's our fight. I'm going to make this argument. I've made this argument. When I call Pelosi or I call some of the Gang of Eight, they say, I know, mass transit. I said, I'm calling you every few hours, making sure it happens. So we're going to fight and fight and fight. Biden is on our side, but he's not yet president. We can't wait till February. When he's president, hopefully we'll get more money, but we need to get this emergency money now. It's vital. I want to save transit and do everything I can. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for fighting. Reach out to congressmen and senators throughout the country. Tell our New York delegation in the House, which is very strong, but bolster them. Say, keep telling Pelosi, keep telling everyone, keep telling McCarthy, we cannot have a bill without transit. Okay, that's
Thank you so much, Senator Schumer, for those words, and thank you for continuing to advocate for New Yorkers and for our essential workers.
We will die without transit. We will just die as a city. We must have it. But these sons of guns are cutting everything. They don't care about people being kicked out of their homes. They don't care about people not feeding their kids. And they don't care about workers who need mass transit to actually go to work. It's vital, but they don't get it. So just go all out. This rally is great, but I hope everyone will pick up the phone and call people they know in Congress or in other states, to call their congressmen and senators to say, this is a must. This is not option. This is not an option. Okay?
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it.
Sorry to be quick, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of shit hitting the fan.
Busy guy.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again. So, I mean, with that, it's good to know that we have a voice in the Senate. And I think, like you said, the most important thing is that we keep calling our local reps and doing what we can on our end to advocate for funding for transit. So without getting too digress, I just wanted to give Eric a last chance to say any final parting thoughts before we start our candle lighting ceremony.
Yes, thank you. And I thank you to Senator Schumer for joining us and for fighting on our behalf down there in Washington. It's pretty crazy that we should even have to have this fight. I mean, this should be a bipartisan, thing, right? I mean, we're talking about an unprecedented pandemic. We're talking about the future of mass transit. We're talking about folks who are losing their jobs, and those of us who are being threatened with losing our jobs if the MTA doesn't get its funding. This shouldn't be a Republican and Democrat issue. It should be an American issue, and something that everybody wants to come to the table and get done. So real quick, transit workers have made the ultimate sacrifice over this past year, working in the midst of an absolutely terrible global pandemic, which has claimed so many lives, yet they have kept New York City running. Those of us who are still using the trains and buses have kept us moving. I think we're up to about 1.7, 1.8 million riders on the subway on a daily basis. So that's something. But the potential effects of not getting this funding, the MTA is talking about up to 9,000 layoffs, 9,000 transit employees, all right, and families and members of our community, working class, salt of the earth people being directly impacted. And then, of course, the effect it will have on the rest of the city. Reduced service, making it harder for people to get around, possibly putting cars on the road. I admit I own a car, and I feel like there's more traffic now than there was before the pandemic. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. But you know, a reduction in service is just a complete non-starter for us. It would hurt our members, it would hurt the city, and we can't allow it to happen. We've got to do whatever it takes.
Absolutely, and we're all here with you in that fight. And we really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to us a little bit about that experience of some of our most essential workers. So now, the main event. While the holidays may look a little different this year, I guess Senator Schumer was the main event, but you know, the candle lighting. We are, you know, staying hopeful. In December, it is a month full of lights, and to keep on with that tradition, we're gonna light candles together in a hope for a brighter 2021. So if everybody's ready and can grab their candles, we will get started and light these candles, and I'll pass things over to Rachel.
I'm gonna unmute myself while I light my candle, okay. All right, so now that everyone has their candle lit, hopefully, we want to let this candle ceremony represent a brighter 2021. A 2021 where a stimulus package has been passed, a stimulus package that includes the $32 billion necessary funding for public transit and relief for everyday Americans. We are hopeful that Congress will come together and deliver for essential workers who help fight this pandemic. We are hopeful Congress will deliver to the workers who made sure our shelves were stocked, our packages delivered, and that New Yorkers were able to get to their destinations. We are hopeful that riders in New York City and across the country will not see nearly 50% of their service disappear and see the cost per ride increase.
Thank you, Rachel. And now we're going to give everyone a chance to share a little bit about why public transit is so important to you on our Jamboard. So I'm going to post this, or there is no chat. So we will, I believe, email all attendees.
Oh, I think they're going to put up an image with the bit.ly link.
Sweet.
And so
we're going to put up a link.
Go to the bit.ly and put your info in there.
Working on that right now. I'm just going to share my screen so everyone can go to our Jamboard. And let's see here. And if you go to the bit.ly here, you'll be able to go to our Jamboard, and which will be like a subway therapy to put up Post-its about why transit is important to you. Great, somebody's on it. All right.
Yeah, if anyone needs any inspiration, that's me. I just wrote that CUNY students need access to reliable and affordable public transit. It's integral to our education. This pandemic isn't permanent, and once it ends, we are going to need that same reliable service that we've come to know and love in our experience as students. And we can't lose that, or else we lose access to our educations.
Great, I think we're going to wrap it up now. Are we jamming?
Here's the Jamboard for those who want to drop in their thoughts about why transportation is so important.
Yeah, drop in there and jam. We didn't go over the how to use it, so I think it says to go to the left-hand bar and click the fourth icon from the top, and that's how you get a new sticky. If you want to add a sticky.
Could you email out the link also?
Did we get a screenshot of everybody's candles? Should we hold up our candles one more time so everyone can see our commitment to the cause? All right, we'll count it down in 3, 2, 1. Excellent, and we'll share that on all our social and everything for you guys.
Perfect. Great. And
With that,
one last thing, but go for it, Jack.
oh no, I was going to close things out. So if you have something else, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, and just in the wishes of Senator Schumer to contact your Senate Republicans, we asked everyone to text riders to 52886, and I'll just go ahead and share the screen. And that's the last thing that we do, is to continue to contact the Republican senators and Mitch McConnell to really deliver and ensure that we're able to get the money that we need. And so I'll just go ahead and share it so everyone can have it, and you can just go ahead and text the number and you'll be connected with Mitch McConnell directly. He needs to be hearing from you, and he needs to be hearing from many other people to know that they have to include this. And so this is the last thing, and then Jack, I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, so always bug your representatives. That's the way we can really make our voices heard, in addition to social media. Follow all of us, the Strap Hangers Campaign, Riders Alliance, and Transportation Alternatives on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for any updates on everything. We really appreciate you guys coming. Eric, we can't thank you enough for speaking to us and really giving us some insight into how much help you guys need and how we can support you. So with that, everyone have a wonderful rest of your week. Keep those candles lit in spirit for the rest of the year so that we can go into 2021 and really advocate for what we need. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Be safe. Have a great holiday.
You too.
Carrie.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
You heading out?